What's going on, guys? Hope everyone's having a great week and a great Thursday evening. It is time, once again, for the Going Broadway Podcast. Alex and Cole with you as always this evening. Cole, what's happening?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the greatest wrestling podcast ever. And boy, do we have a great show for you this evening.
What do we not have a great show for you guys?
It's going to be real good. First
Real
off, I just
good.
want to start by saying, if you missed out last week, you need to go back and check out our interview with Charlie Haas. It was a great time, and he gave us a lot of great little insights on some things that I never knew. I don't know if you knew all of what he shared, but there was a lot of great little things that he shared, and so I encourage you to go check that out. It's on our YouTube channel, and yeah, check that out.
And you guys really should check out anytime we have an interview with somebody live, just because as time will allow, we'll take questions from you guys. Give you guys a chance to ask questions to possible guests that we'll have on that maybe you'll never get to talk to in person. But you can ask through us. You can live vicariously through us, if that makes sense. So,
fun fact, he said his son's name was Thomas Russell, which is just funny to me because we have a frequent listener who's in the chat right now. So,
and there he is.
Thomas, be honored to know that you share the same name as the son of the great Charlie Haas.
Indeed. And special shout out to Thomas Russell. He is one of our platinum level patrons, and we sincerely appreciate him as well as all of our other patrons. I got to throw this comment up, though. I saw this during the countdown. You know about this?
Appreciation Society. I don't know if that's for me or Adam Cole or.
Oh no, that's for you. That is for you.
But why?
I don't know.
But why?
I don't know. But let's say hi to everyone else in the chat. We got Billy Ray Milburn. We've got Stacy. Ryan Wolf, thanks for joining us. We've got Jeremy. We've got Alan. Jeremy, absolutely. Support your local independent wrestling always. We've got Jeffrey. We've got the large fry. Not the small fry. Not the medium-sized fry. The large fry. Yeah. We got Steven in here. We've got the 61934. We've got Bruce. We've got Jesse. The gang's all here. So, that being said, why don't we just kick things off? Only how we know how. Just kidding. Our bell is. There it is.
There it is. See, it used to be really touchy. Now it's not touchy enough.
Right. It's like our soundboard used to be like if you barely touch the table within a 2-foot radius of it, it set it off, and now it's like you got to pound the thing to get the bell to it anyway. So,
Jeremy, I like it. Gonna name my new finisher the 618. For those of you that don't know, that's the area code here.
Well done.
In our part of Illinois. So
well done. Green 2903, thanks for tuning in and hanging out. Brian, thanks for tuning in as well. Cole, what do we want to kick off with tonight? Oh, by the way, guys, I'll address the elephant in the room. I'm sure a lot of you guys are here to find out how you can win a little something. We'll share that at some point during the podcast. But for the time being, you just got to hang out and find out when we give you that information. So stick around, hang out, talk some wrestling with us, and have some fun. Join in the conversation. The time will come when we announce said information. But for now, Cole, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember all the things that I sent you.
You just mentioned. Well, okay, this will be a good way to kick off. We'll address the other elephant in the room, or should I say the white rabbit in the room?
Oh, yeah, let's talk about that.
So, the obvious speculation is that it's Bray Wyatt, and I don't disagree with that, but could it be? Well, I'm jumping ahead. The rumor is that we'll find out at Extreme Rules that was behind Mr. Sean Ross Sapp's or slash Fightful's paywall. That it's rumored that we'll find out at least who it is, or the reveal will happen there. But could it be anyone or anything else?
I've been kind of sitting back and trying to think about it because, there was speculation for some reason that they thought it was Edge, and that I guess there were some of the clues made sense for why it would be, but then Edge made his, if you call it a return, he showed back up on Raw and challenged Finn Balor to a last man standing match, which I want to talk more about Extreme Rules just in general. I do have a compliment for that, but don't worry. Later on in the show, we're going to be balancing the scales, if you will, with WWE, but
Indeed.
I don't know if there's the problem that you back yourself into now is that everyone thinks it's Bray. And so if it's not Bray, I don't know if there's another name that wouldn't come across as severely underwhelming.
I will take it a step farther. It would be a severe disappointment.
And like, okay, so I'm reading names in the chat. So I see Baron Corbin, underwhelming. Clearly not going to be Vince. I'm sorry. Dolph Ziggler. So let me say something about Dolph Ziggler for a second. They had him come back and start kind of doing a face thing with against Austin Theory, and then I've not seen him since. I don't know if I'm tripping, if I'm missing it. I've not seen him, and it was good. I was enjoying what he was doing. Like, what I don't know what happened with all that, but I don't think it's Dolph Ziggler. This is going to be a dark character or a very mysterious character. You could have said, if they hadn't already introduced Dexter Lumis onto TV, you could have maybe said Dexter Lumis.
You could have said Cross if he hadn't debuted 2 or 3 months ago.
And I also started thinking about if they wanted to do an NXT call-up, if there was anybody on NXT, and Joe Gacy, I'm not saying that that's a good answer, but I'm saying he fits that dark character.
Yeah, but that's an awful lot of
work,
press, if you want to call it that, or a lot of exposure for somebody that's just kind of like, I mean, a lot of these people that come up from NXT come up. I mean, I know we're kind of using that as if it's developmental, and it's not. But people that come from NXT up to Raw or to SmackDown, you're going to have somewhat of a fan base that doesn't watch NXT.
Right.
I would venture to say most do, but not everyone. And I mean, I got to agree with Jeremy. If it's Gacy, it would just be, I think they would be, no pun intended, pushing him to the moon too quickly.
Oh, for sure.
It would be a flop.
For sure. Yeah. Not saying it would be good. I'm just saying I was trying to think of anybody who would fit it. Because everybody wants Bray back, I don't know if there's any way you could not have this be Bray Wyatt. I'm a little, I don't want to say confused. I'm a little intrigued, I guess, because I feel like this is a new character. I don't know if we're going to see the Fiend again. I'm almost curious if we're going to see this new kind of Wyndham character that I feel like has been teased over social media, and the possibilities of, if he had not signed back with WWE, what his character would have been elsewhere. Right. So I'm kind of intrigued here because this doesn't feel fiendish. Like, if they wanted him to come back as the Fiend and to do the Fiend type stuff, all you have to do is at Extreme Rules, drop the lights, play the music, and you get the pop. So this feels different. And I don't know if it's going to be the Fiend. And then my question, I'll ask your thoughts. If it's not the Fiend and it's Bray Wyatt, but it's not the Fiend gimmick, do you think people are going to pop the same way?
I mean, I think so, and I'll take it a step further. I'm going to put Jeremy's comment up. I think Fiend character they just need to do away with. If they're going to bring Bray back, bring him back as Bray, or bring him back, like you said, as a new character. Now, Chris beat me to it, and this is something I had thought about, and I was going to bring it up after you're done talking. It could be a tandem. You could bring back Bray, and then this White Rabbit could be Bo Dallas. At first thought, hear me out. At first thought, it sounds underwhelming. But if you bring back Bray with Bo, that could be a big deal, because if you bring Bo back by himself, obviously, it's just no one cares. If you bring him back with Bray, bring him back with his brother, they don't even have to form a faction or a stable or a group or anything. It could just be those two. You could add one or two if you wanted, whatever. But you have something new, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it's not, I'll put it this way. I'm of the probably unpopular opinion that didn't actually necessarily care for the Fiend character at any given point. So that kind of sways my opinion, I guess. But I just think if you bring Bray back, people are going to think he's the White Rabbit. But the swerve happens is Bray comes out, and then he says, does the whole White Rabbit shtick and says, brings him out, and then it's Bo Dallas.
I kind of like where you're headed with it as far as the storyline. I don't know if I'm sold that it's Bo Dallas. I think his ship has sailed. Okay. I think he's pretty happy with what he's doing. But I do like the thought that, hey, the swerve would be Bray Wyatt's not the White Rabbit.
Yeah.
He's the mouthpiece. And I started to think about this, and I'm sure you might have saw the photo or the fantasy booking, if you will, of this thought. But people had talked about the Firefly Funhouse characters coming to life.
Which, by the way, real quick, if you guys notice, every single individual match promo for Extreme Rules has the lantern and the fireflies on the left side.
I noticed that too.
So anyway, continue.
So I like that idea. I think the names kind of chosen are far-fetched. Mainly the Karrion Kross one, just because I think he's a main event star on his own. I don't think he needs to be factionized, and
I agree.
All that stuff. I think he's already got his thing. But I did like the idea of him and Scarlett, being that, but I think he's good on his own. Don't know long-term what you do with Braun Strowman. Although I will say he looks better. Like, he looks really well in shape. I'm happy that he's back. I don't know. I think you will always run into the same problem with that big man, monster among monsters, giant kind of gimmick, is that it gets old. We saw that with Big Show. You saw that with Great Khali. Even though these guys are extremely more talented in the ring, the story got old because everybody was smaller. Everybody, so I kind of like the idea of him with Bray Wyatt. I don't know if that's a route they'll go. I like the idea of Dexter Lumis with Bray Wyatt. I thought that could be good. But then it got me, and this is why I said I like kind of where you were headed. The biggest problem with the Fiend character is that he got so over that everyone was like, he's got to have the belt. He's the most over thing in wrestling. He's got to have the belt. He's got to have the belt. But I'm actually more convinced, and this is where I kind of like where you were headed, is that he's actually a wrestler that can be entertaining and probably could go his whole career without being WWE or undisputed world champion, whatever you want to call it, ever again.
Oh, agreed.
Not saying he wouldn't deserve it. I'm saying he's that entertaining. He is of the very few, Seth Rollins being one of those guys as well, that it finds a way to stay relevant on TV, have meaningful storylines that are intriguing, that people want to watch. So I kind of like the idea of, he gets the pop when he comes back, but then boom, the White Rabbit, and insert name here, whoever it's going to be, whether it's, I wouldn't mind it being an NXT call up. Somebody that they believe in, that's proven themselves. Again, you don't need that to be like a Braun Breaker or somebody who could get over like on their own. But I'm not opposed. Or if it was even a tag team, like if he was going to kind of still be the main single star of a faction of whatnot, and he brings in, check. Did you lose me? Did I lose me?
No.
Okay.
I hear you.
Sorry, my headphones went out. I'm not opposed to it even being a tag team that they're calling up. And like I said, I don't know necessarily, who exactly that needs to be. But I like the idea of him not necessarily being the White Rabbit. But
see, and this is an intriguing thought as well. I mean, this would be another swerve.
That's interesting. Now let's ask this question. Who could be the White Rabbit? If you're going to go off the mindset of, okay, boom, Bray Wyatt returns. Yep, that makes sense. Think he's the White Rabbit, and the swerve is someone attacks him. The people that I think it could be are already in a storyline of sorts. They're already made their appearance. Like, I think it would have to be someone who hasn't been on TV for a minute. The swerve would have to be a shock of like, oh, boom, like got you, like.
And I don't know anybody necessarily off the top of my head that's, on the shelf, so to speak, that it would make sense. I mean, Cody Rhodes makes no sense at all.
Would not even be close to ready with the injury.
No, I mean, it just, no. Green 2903 says Eric Rowan. I thought about that, but I think that would just be a huge letdown. No disrespect to Eric Rowan, but it's just.
It would be a bigger deal if he returned with Bray versus against.
Yeah, I mean, is there anybody? So I'm trying to remember. I feel like I've read within the last 2 weeks that there was somebody or a group of people that were like their contracts were coming up soon at Impact. Maybe it's been longer than that. I don't remember, but somebody like Sami Callihan. I mean, I don't know what his contract situation's like, but I mean, that's something
that would be good.
Bill. So no, it's not John Cena.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be somebody because of the White Rabbit thing they've been doing. It would have to be somebody of that. I hate using like mystical or
it'd be a darker character connotation.
Gallows and Anderson.
Yeah, Brian's. So I thought about that, but they're going to New Japan. At least they've been very vocal about the fact that that's where they're headed. Could be a swerve, but I mean, I don't know. They're too comedic to fit that character. I feel like. I just think it would be cool in terms of their debut, but like this White Rabbit gimmick or whatever, it just doesn't fit in my opinion. I don't know. I can't put the words to describe it. I don't think so.
I do like to put a bow on it. I do like that they've done a lot of this within the house show aspect. Like it's not something that's being televised on TV. What's cool about this and what's special about this is it's been kind of word of mouth promotion, if you will.
And they've put a lot of effort into it also. I mean, like all these coordinates and
the signs on everybody's cars.
Yeah.
Like that was legit. Like that was super cool.
So what else can we we talked about this before we went live, the Bobby Fish situation.
Let's touch on that for a second because it kind of plays into the bigger story of, what was it? I guess about a month and a half came out that Tony Khan basically sent an email to WWE saying stop reaching out to my talent,
contract tampering, etc.
Whatever.
And I'll let you take the lead on this real quick. I'm gonna mute myself and turn my camera off. I'll be right back.
I would love to hear thoughts on this because I'm of the mindset of that Triple H, Nick Khan, Stephanie McMahon, that they're smarter than this. That they know how con tampering works, and that if they were going to reach out in any form or fashion to talents that they wanted to bring back or see where their heads are at, that it wouldn't just be a straightforward email or phone call or any of those things. Like I think people, I hope I'm not in the minority in that. I would think that they would know better. So I want to get thoughts on that first, because if we think that WWE was contract tampering, I'd like to think that that they would be smart enough to do it in a nonchalant, kind of, I guess, legal backdoor way. We all know that it happens all the time. Those conversations are happening all the time. And they know what they can and can't say, especially when there's people who, if you've ever been a part of the scouting and recruiting process in sports for college and whatnot, there's things you can and can't say at certain times to certain age groups and all that stuff. It's kind of the same thing here. Like, they know what they can and can't say. They know how they can and can't email. They know all of that stuff. Can they have a conversation? Sure. They just can't discuss any deals, terms, all that stuff. So I'd like to think that everybody involved in WWE is smart enough not to straight up just send an email or a phone call, text, say, hey, are you happy with where you're at? But with that being said, it came out in an interview here recently that Bobby Fish was basically denying the claims that he reached out to Adam Cole or Kyle O'Reilly, that none of it was true. And basically the wording was, y'all don't think I know how contracts work. Like, none of these guys are stupid. Like, they've all been in the business long enough to know how it all works. And I know that the bigger story here is that there was those names that were, called out here. And I think, Alex, you and I talked about this in our text thread, that it was debunked by, was it Andrew Zarian?
Yeah, Andrew Zarian. He has he does one of the Observer shows. I know he's got his own podcast. So I mean, he's broken some of the breaking news in the past. So
yeah, but it was weird that they chose wherever these stories are coming from, the names that have been brought in, the stories, all this stuff. I think I'm just trying to think through like that whole process, because I just don't think Bobby Fish, he kind of got the bad end of the stick in the media, because after it all came out, they're like, oh, Bobby's, this, that, and whatever. And then Bobby goes to Impact. That story doesn't make sense to me, because why would he be like, yeah, we're going to WWE, Adam, Kyle, get out of your contracts with AEW. We're going back to the E. And then a week later show up in Impact Wrestling. The timelines don't make sense.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, and here's another facet of it. Just, I have a hard, not that this part didn't happen, because I don't know. You don't know. None of us know. It's purely speculation. But I have a hard time believing that WWE would reach out to, well, anyone, given the legal ramifications that could happen, because I mean that is contract tampering. Whether it's, whether it's someone directly or I know someone in the chat thread said third party, friend of friend, whatever. It's still contract tampering. I mean, there's, from a legal standpoint, I don't think there's any way to get around it. But I also have a hard time believing that WWE would specifically reach out to the guys that it was rumored that they reached out to. So it was Swerve, and you might have mentioned this while I was gone.
Don't mention the names.
Swerve, Keith Lee, FTR. Who am I missing?
Oh, you would ask me that.
I feel like I'm missing.
It was a lot of the guys that probably should have never left the company in the first place.
Well, and it was also guys that they didn't I mean, granted, it's under a different regime now with Triple H and HBK in charge, but they didn't exactly roll out the red carpet for Keith Lee at any given point while he was there. NXT or
I kind of disagree on that. Mainly
well,
because they gave him the spotlights in the NXT Survivor Series storyline. They gave him a big spotlight there, and I believe at the Rumble.
But they ended up kind of nixing whatever they were going to do, and then they gave him this Bearcat character and put him in a black and pink singlet. It's like,
now that was all Vince.
I don't know.
So we're
no. I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, I get that it's under a new regime now.
All the ones that they would have reached out to, they succeeded very well in NXT and under Triple H, Shawn Michaels, leadership, guidance.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I think at least specifically with Keith Lee, what I was getting at is whenever he was dealing with his illness, and again, this part's speculation as well, but from what has been posted on social media, what's been picked up by the wrestling dirt sheets and things like that. I know Mia Yim has done interviews and made posts and everything herself, but just the company in general did not really treat them well while they were dealing with Keith and his illness and everything he was going through. So,
right. And I guess there was rumors about how they treated his wife too.
Yeah.
As well. So obviously, poor treatment, whether it was, again, we're saying new regime, again, all the names that have been mentioned, and a lot of the names that haven't been mentioned. I think Rusev might have been, Miro might have been one of the other names.
Miro was the other one. Yeah, that's the one I couldn't remember.
All the names that are mentioned, they all succeeded. Put them all in the category. And let's just be real. Any of the previous WWE talents in the past couple of years that have went and signed to AEW, all of them were succeeding very well in the NXT banner and the 205 Live banner. They were succeeding very well under the Triple H banner. It's when they got out from underneath that banner that everything went south. They got frustrated and they left, which is why a lot of them were like, no, me and Triple H are still on great terms, because I think they all knew someday this is gonna go to him and Stephanie. I might want to come back here. Let me keep strong relationships. And I think you're going to see some of that start to take place, as we already have. You saw the Dexter Loomis re-signing. You saw the Braun Strowman re-signing, the Karrion Kross re-signing. So I think as time goes on, you will see people start to come back, because they'll want to go back to where they actually had the most success. And all these guys had their most success under that. But I think the mindset that Triple H, again, we're talking about brilliant wrestling minds. They know how the business works. It's silly of them to reach out in such a direct way, to the point that Tony Khan would know and email back saying, stop tampering with my talents. Like,
yeah. And the thing I like about, not kind of getting off topic a little bit, and then we can actually change subjects altogether, but I don't think that WWE, they'll probably bring back some other guys. Like prime example, I wouldn't be surprised if they stayed in AEW, but I also wouldn't be surprised if eventually we see FTR/Revival back in WWE. But I think that WWE is going to be a lot more careful and see what AEW has done and basically just sign every guy that's become available left and right. I think they're going to be a lot more careful in regards to, hey, if we sign this guy, we need to actually have a plan for them, or sign this, sign this girl. We need to actually have a plan creatively for them, instead of just, basically getting the Andrade El Idolo treatment and signing him just because, and then not doing crap with them.
Well, and the truth on that matter is, right, like, this is why Triple H wants to split the titles back up, have more opportunities, more storylines, more things to build off of. NXT going back to kind of that black and gold banner of, it doesn't have to be just people that they got out of college and trained up.
Exactly.
We can send some of these talents back down. Like, I love Apollo Crews on NXT. He fit better there. And that's okay. Like, you're still getting paid. You're still getting TV time. Like you're on the video games. Like you're still, and you'll still always be in line for opportunities. You never know when the door's going to knock. And so I think for me, like personally, all those names, I agree with you. I think they're going to be very, very specific on who they resign, because I think Triple H was of the mindset of, it's healthy for us to not sign every single talent. It's healthy.
Yeah.
Because it makes the people here appreciate their job and work their butts off. And it makes the people that want to join us work even harder. And I think as you see banners, their hope is to open NXT UK and Mexico and all these different banners. You might see some of these guys get signed and get sent to work in those countries. There's some people that don't ever make the NBA, but they go across seas and make their money playing basketball overseas. You might see that with the wrestling community now, is that, do I have a spot for Miro here in WWE US full time? No, but I could really use him right now over here in NXT UK or wherever it is that they're planning their thing. So as they grow with these other banners underneath them, there's going to be room for some of these guys to at least get their foot in the door again and prove why they should have storylines written for them, why they should be one of the top guys. So
agreed. Let's move on. We're going to debut a new segment called Balancing the Scales. So the purpose behind this segment is the fact that lately we've been very almost pro WWE / anti AEW. In our defense, for good reason. I would say this time a year ago, we would have been the exact opposite. And we just want to make abundantly clear that if we see something wrong with any product, we're going to be vocal about it. And so because we've been so pro WWE lately, we wanted to give our thoughts on some areas where WWE, so A, where WWE could improve, and B, where AEW lately has actually maybe been better or held their ground in a certain area compared to WWE. So Cole, why don't you start?
Yeah, just a couple things that kind of stood out to me. And this is, as Alex and I were kind of preparing the show this week, I told him, why don't we take a moment just so people know it's not that we are anti AEW, we're pro wrestling. No pun intended. Like,
we are pro wrestling.
We want to see things done in excellence. And I think, to WWE's credit, that they're sometimes they might play it a little bit more safe, but safe means that you don't have to worry about mistakes and as many mistakes and things going off the rails and whatnot. And so we've been since really All Out, we've been extremely critical of AEW. Even before then, I was very honest about how I hadn't really been watching. It kind of got dry.
Oh, by the way, I mentioned this to you before we went live. Just complete 100% transparency with you guys. I'm doing a wrestling podcast. I've not watched a single bit of wrestling in the last 7 days. In the last week, I've not watched any wrestling. Shocker, right? Sorry.
So,
I just had to get that out there because a lot of times I don't watch because the product sucks. A lot of times I don't watch because just life gets busy. A lot of times, in the case this week, it was both. So anyway, continue.
So I preface all that to say that right now, I still am of the mindset that I'm very entertained by WWE on the overall product right now. I'm very disinterested in the AEW product. For both of them, I still sit down and try to watch what I can, when I can, as much as I can, just to be informed, for what we do. But just to kind of give some examples of just this week that I saw some things. I know somebody, I can't remember who it was, but someone in the chat last week was kind of giving me a hard time because I was counting the botches of AEW. And I kind of have a running ticker when I watch AEW about botches.
It's not hard. It's not like you have to nitpick at them. I mean, they're pretty abundantly clear.
I will have you know that I actually I challenged myself on, it was SmackDown last week, to start counting botches that night. And I will tell you the match that was so bad. They should not have put this match on, and it will lead into one of my main thoughts. The Lacey Evans Alexa Bliss match last week on SmackDown was atrocious. It was so bad. I counted, I think, at least 3 botches within the match. Botches, miscues, no chemistry, felt thrown together, and Lacey Evans is better than that. Which brings me to, all right, y'all, Liv Morgan is not it. She should not be the champion. I get that the fans got behind her, and that's all good. And I don't have anything against her personally. But as far as the women's division that's there in WWE, she is maybe middle of the pack. Like, she's not that talented in the ring. She has a cool look, decent on the mic. I wouldn't say amazing. She's okay. But
so what you're saying is that she's mid.
I'm saying that she's mid at best.
I had to get that out there because we have a friend of the show, and I think he is actually our Cole Appreciation Society. That he's kind of inherited that catchphrase or whatever from MJF and uses it on our chat threads. But anyway,
I think she's got to go, and I don't think Ronda Rousey either. I mean,
I agree.
She's improved immensely in the ring. Like, the ring work is not the problem, but geez, the mic is like, she's never seen one, heard of one, never accidentally touched one. The mic, she does not know what a mic is. Like, she does not know how to.
Touch on this for me real quick. Brian Griffin posted this earlier, and I know Bianca Belair gets a lot of hate. She gets a lot of hate in our chat threads.
Y'all ain't ready for this one. All right. So I saw a lot of, I think it was in our Discord, I saw a little bit of back and forth on Bianca Belair. Her Monday night promo seemed rough to me, but part of it is the weird duo of her with Asuka and Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me at all.
I know that they need someone to kind of go up against Damage Control, and they're pushing Damage Control, which I'm not for or against. I like that Dakota Kai and Io are getting used. I like that Bayley's back. That there's entertainment there. And again, all of them extremely talented in the ring. I think it's a down step for Asuka. I think it's a misuse of Alexa when you could be rebranding her to be a top talent there still in WWE. So I don't think that I agree that she needs to have a shortened promo. I think they need to use her correctly, which is she doesn't need to be teamed with people that don't fit her gimmick. And this is, I'm trying to say this politely. Asuka doesn't speak English. That means that they don't mix very well as a team. And Alexa Bliss is like this emo punk type thing with a doll in her hands, and Bianca Belair is not. Like, it just doesn't make sense. At least Damage Control, they're all unified under one gimmick, and that's what they're doing, and it feels that way. So I don't necessarily agree with that, but
I just want to say real quick too, it's bad enough whenever you have a tag team that's just kind of thrown together, but whenever you have a group of 3 that feels thrown together, that's just, I mean, to me, that's very cringe. Like, and it's not like you're just randomly seeing these 3 together every so often. They've got them together on every program, it seems like. And again, like I just, depending on time, I haven't had a whole lot of time to watch wrestling, but I keep up with like the results and such. And it seems like, from what I've read, that they have them grouped together on a weekly basis. Am I wrong on that?
No, I mean, the gimmick or the storyline, I should say, has been Damage Control versus Bianca, Alexa, Asuka. Like that's the storyline here. So I will. So this is kind of the overall point. The WWE Women's Division is too talented to have it feel mediocre, and I think with Liv Morgan being Women's Champion, that's created some of that. I think the push to have Ronda Rousey on TV, knowing that even though that she sells tickets, I get it, all that's cool. But I think they really need to get back to the meat of what made their women's division so special. Utilize Becky. Charlotte will be making her return, I'm sure, soon. I'm sure Sasha and Naomi aren't far away on that return as well. So use your heart and soul, but start utilizing Shayna Baszler, who was this dominant women's champion in NXT. Toxic Attraction. You want to have a 3-person tag team go up against Damage Control? Bring Toxic Attraction up and allow Mandy Rose, who's been killing it on NXT, to really be utilized correctly on the main roster. Lacey Evans, extremely talented, good on the mic, stays in character all the time, like one of those rare people. So that's one thing that stood out to me. Another thought that stood out to me, and you haven't got to see this yet, Alex, unless you saw a highlight of it, but Omos is back on TV.
Well, hold on, before you get there, I wanted to speak to this real quick. If they're building for War Games, you're doing it way too soon. I mean, you have a pay-per-view already before Survivor Series. You don't need to. You don't need to. This isn't long-term booking with a female War Games match.
And it's 3-on-3. You would still need to add a 4th to each team.
At least.
Which doesn't make sense because Damage Control is already a faction.
You don't need, from the time that they started this to Survivor Series, what would that be, like 9 weeks, 10 weeks? You don't need that much programming to throw together what's going to be a one-off
match,
female War Games match.
Right.
So anyway, Omos, continue.
I don't know if you saw that he was back on TV.
I saw he went up against 2 jobbers.
And the rumor, and I'm assuming it's true because he was name dropped during the Omos match, is that they're aiming. I don't know if it's going to be for Extreme Rules or not, but they're aiming for a Omos Braun Strowman match, which to me is overdone already off jump. But number 2, Braun Strowman is twice the wrestler that Omos is, and I think that it's just a bad showing. It's a waste of a use of MVP, who's so great on the mic, and you could be utilizing him to get the talents over that pretty good on the mic. But I need them to take Omos off TV.
So this is the one
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say this is the one I was going to talk about as far as or one of them I was going to talk about. Like you said, they're wasting MVP. MVP is not helping him get over. I don't know if there's anything that's going to help him get over. He's not good in the ring. I don't know what Undertaker ever saw in him to make him think that he was going to be like the next Andre, unless there's just one of those things he's, paid to say that. I wouldn't think that's the case, but at the same time, I'm just like, he's not any better. You're throwing him up against 2 jobbers. Why? I mean, you got plenty of guys in the locker room that are, you could throw them up against one of those guys, have them take the loss, but at least it's not jobbers. At least you're not trying to. You're not failing to make him look like this unstoppable force because he's going up against 2 jobbers. I get it. Back in the day, you had bigger guys go up against jobbers, but this isn't back in the day. This is an entirely new time period where if you are a mainstream wrestling company, and this is kind of a whole other soapbox that I'm not going to get on, but if you're WWE, if you're AEW, really just those 2 for now, stop using jobbers on your main TV. You don't need them. And I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit because I know someone kind of asked us about this for one of our fan mail segments, but you've got guys in the locker room that aren't even being used that are on your payroll. Guys that you are paying 5-6 figures a year, and they're just sitting in the locker room. In some cases, they're sitting at home. Now, look,
right.
Your wrestling company, your money, you do whatever you want. But you're really going to pay a jobber $1,000 to come in, like a local wrestler to come in to just, take some chops and, tomahawk hits to the head or whatever moves that Omos does and
right.
have a 3-minute match and call it a day? Like, makes no sense to me. And I'm actually really surprised, to be honest, that he's even on TV, because that means that with Triple H being in charge, that he still sees something in Omos. And I just don't see it. I don't get it at all. And it's kind of discouraging because, the rumor has been that Veer Mahan character, we may not ever even see again. And not that, he was, overly talented or anything, but neither is Omos.
Right.
Get rid of him. So,
which is exactly the only thing I see where I could give Triple H maybe a little bit of a pass is if this is meant to try to help build Braun Strowman, meaning, we're going to have Braun beat a giant, because he's doing the whole monster among monsters gimmick. Yeah. So for that to happen, they had him fight Otis, big guy, they kind of try to sell that. I think that might be the mindset here is, Omos, big guy, I'm going to try to sell that. And then maybe he will be off TV at that point because they brought him back to do this. Again, one of those characters, not much you can do with him. Not a whole, not very far that you can take this character, even with MVP. And so guys like that got to go. And you said it perfectly. One of the things I will say I think AEW does a good job about is that they can get somebody kind of over or get them the win and still put on a match watching. You use a guy like Tony Nese or people you don't really have plans for in the moment. And Jay Lethal, we kind of talked about him for a little bit. Brian Cage, Ricky Starks was like this kind of when he came in. Matt Bourne or Matt Sydal. I mixed his two names.
Matt Bourne. Bringing Doink into this.
So you use those guys, you put on a really good match, they still take the pinfall. You got guys like Shelton Benjamin on your roster who's not doing anything.
Where's he been? Main event?
Mustafa Ali, who's on your roster, who again, okay, let's use Omos for an example. Mustafa Ali could sell a lot of things for Omos to make him look strong. If that's what your goal was, to make him look good, put him up against somebody like that. They were doing that with Ricochet for a while too. And so that was it. And then I want to give one more before, if you have any to add, obviously jump in.
I mean, the only thing I was going to say real quick is you kind of touched on it is the one good thing I feel like AEW has been consistent with lately for the most part is still putting on good matches. Yeah. Even if the storylines suck, the matches have still been pretty good quality.
Outside of the pay-per-view. Like from the week to week television, they're usually pretty consistent on giving a pretty solid, balanced card.
Yeah.
Which I think is why, we saw that complaint of, people saying that their main event card doesn't feel main event-ish. It doesn't feel that big. And it's probably because, and this is a compliment now, the testament to how good your weekly program is with wrestling matches.
Yeah.
How do you take it up a notch? How do you elevate this to feel like a bigger match? So the other thing, and I told you this,
Call Appreciation Society, indeed he was. Actually, hold on one second. Shelton's injured? Wasn't aware of that.
Not that I know of.
Anyway.
And I said this to you, and maybe someone can correct me. Maybe I'm tripping. But for those of you who watch NXT, this past week, I should say, last night's episode, or 2 nights ago episode, I should say, if you haven't, go watch the very first segment. It was Braun Breaker, Ilya Dragunov, and I'm going to butcher his name, JD McDonough,
whatever.
Jordan Devlin.
Jordan Devlin.
Don't know why we changed his name, but so during it, the entire time, I'm pretty sure there was crowd noises being played in the arena in the background, like sound bites, crowd noises.
Gotta love piped in crowd sounds.
If you notice, everybody sits down. The whole crowd is sitting during this segment. And I thought I was hearing, again, I could be tripping. Y'all could correct. I thought I heard it more than once. I heard crowd noises in the background, but the whole crowd. I heard it in the background while everyone's sitting down, though. So it doesn't make sense to have that playing because I'm watching. It was almost cringe. I was like,
everyone's sitting down, and it's just
and I'm
like
and they're cutting a promo. They're doing their thing, and then what's strange is because the crowd can tend very animated and really gets into the show. They start chanting something while the crowd noise is still going on. so they're clashing,
wow.
and it threw me off. And then I think it happened again. To announce that he sustained an undisclosed injury that'll keep him on the shelf for a while. Oh, okay.
Fair enough.
So
we could have had him on with Charlie last week. Then
could have.
He wasn't busy. Missed opportunity.
So I'm trying to think of the other time that I heard it, but there was another moment throughout the NXT broadcast where I heard piped in like soundbite. And I was like, why are we like, you have a crowd. I know that it's not a big stadium crowd. And let's be real. If they were to take NXT out on the road, they could easily sell tickets if they wanted to. It wouldn't be hard. You don't have to book a 60,000 plus arena to do it.
No.
They could easily have a 5,000, 10,000 type venue and sell it out. They could do it.
They could. I mean, most times, they'd probably settle for so locally, that the family arena in St. Charles. How many do you think that holds? Do you think off the top of your head, 3,000 maybe?
5,000 might be the max, depending on how they have to.
But yeah,
something like building up.
Something like that, they could. Yeah, something like that, they could probably easily sell out. I mean, even the Gateway Center, in Collinsville that Warrior Wrestling was just at. They probably had. I don't know. You can probably fit a couple thousand in there comfortably.
College stadiums. You go to some college areas and use their auditoriums. Where we went for the AEW show in Champaign. Easily could have packed that place. So, but I don't understand why they and I don't. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember noticing them doing this in past weeks. I'm not. Maybe I've not just been paying attention.
I'm not watching NXT enough to say for sure, but I would venture to guess that it's probably something they've brought back.
But it was like cringe. It was bad.
Oh, it's cringe anytime they do it.
And within NXT, while I'm on that subject, some things that just watching, I'm only going off of last night's episode because that's what's fresh in or 2 nights ago episode because that's what's fresh in my mind. The Wesley Tony D'Angelo match, they called it because it looks like Tony D'Angelo blew out his knee.
Which they actually aired that, did they not?
Oh, it's aired. Yeah. It's.
They didn't edit the tape.
No. And that was awkward. That the way, because it was almost like Wesley didn't know how to sell the victory or whatever. And I hope that wasn't gimmick or storyline because it was a very weird finish. I didn't care for it. But the whole episode, it just seemed like some things were off. And that's why I'm going to say, to kind of put a bow on my thoughts on the segment. Let's get back to the black and gold. I know you changed the logo back to black and gold NXT. Let's make this push to get back to the actual black and gold NXT. Again, you can make the argument. I know he just showed up in Impact. I'm sure the contract's not a big deal to get out of. I told you this before the show. I would have brought Bobby Fish back to WWE, put him in NXT with Roderick Strong, have them turn on the Creed brothers. You got a program right there. Undisputed Era versus the Creed brothers.
Even if you don't bring him back as as an on-screen talent, he would be invaluable backstage, behind the scenes, in multiple areas and multiple facets of just the production side, or even creative, being an agent. Like,
Yeah, and that's all true. But I think right now what NXT is missing is some of that star power value. And that's why I think I liked when Dolph Ziggler came down, did his thing. Bring Bobby Roode back down and let Bobby Roode rock with some of these guys. You know, Bobby Roode versus Braun Breaker could be a really good program. Mustafa Ali, bring him down. Let him work with some of these guys. Could be really good programs. I think that they're missing some of that, but I want them to get back to signing some of the indie talents that are out there and bringing them in. Nick Aldis, amazing to bring in and kind of fulfill or fill that role that was there, like that Walter role, that just real nice straight edge wrestling style, clean cut wrestling style. So I really want to see them get back to bringing in some of the you know them type names from the indie scenes and bringing them into NXT. But I think they got to get back to that star powered kind of vibe to NXT.
Agreed. All right, we're gonna transition again. So we talked the week before last, because last week Charlie Haas was on as a guest, so it would have been the week before last. We went through PWI's, at least we went through their top 20. We mentioned some that were outside of the top 20. So Cole and I decided that we were going to give our top 20 wrestlers for the 2022 year. But it's actually really deceiving, because it actually goes from mid 2021 to mid 2022. So do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I say we kind of let's fire them back and forth at each other. Maybe the first couple at a time and talk.
Well, let's start. Let's start from the bottom and work our way up.
Okay, so give me your first your bottom three, your 2019 and 18.
2019 and 18. So number 20, Jon Moxley. He barely made my top 20.
Okay.
Even when people were just like, "How did he not make the top 10?" He barely made my top 20.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there. 19, Shingo Takagi. 18, Matt Cardona.
Wow, we're gonna have a very different list, my friend.
Well, so I know I ripped on PWI for their list. My top 20, while there are going to be some different, it's going to be different orderings, I guess. I mean, there's going to be guys that are, they're going to vary from 1 to 20 compared to PWIs. But I will say, somewhat of a spoiler, a lot of mine are going to be similar as far as that 1 through 20, but they're just going to be in different areas compared to PWI. So.
Right. All right, so my number 20 might shock some people, but my number 20 was Kenny Omega.
I thought you were going to say John Cena.
No, I put Kenny Omega down at the bottom because outside of most of the year, he wasn't even there.
He's been gone for quite a bit. Or he was gone for quite a bit.
So I mean, I know that he had some things going on during that time and, whatever, but he didn't make my list because most of the year he wasn't even there. Number 19, I put Braun Breaker.
Okay.
NXT champion all year long. Great matches. Gotta have him. Mainly because, again, hiatus, just different things. I have MJF at number 18.
Okay.
I personally just don't think anytime people are gone off TV for a long period of time, that's really going to sour some things for me. And some of the storylines that he was in during this past year kind of sucked. So
that's fair.
Outside of the CM Punk, that one of the best storylines. And I think it was because of MJF that it was good. So number 18. So go ahead and give me 17 through 14.
Okay. 17, I had Moose.
Okay.
16, Adam Cole. Bay. 15, I had Jay White. 14, I had Kenny Omega.
Okay. I will preface by saying that Moose did not make my top 20.
Okay.
So number, what did I say? 17. Number 17, I have Jonathan. Even though he won the ROH title.
Oh, Gresham. Okay, you kind of cut out.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Jonathan Gresham. Even though he won the ROH title, it felt small. It felt very minor. No big deal about it.
Was that a size joke? Come on now.
It really wasn't. But number 16, I have Josh Alexander. Again, I know he won the title, but they didn't make it feel special. They didn't make it feel big. Number 15, I have Tanahashi. Number 14. Ooh, I just realized I made a mistake. I have someone on my list twice.
Uh-oh.
I'll tell you what. On the fly, because he did win a title, I will put Moose at number 16, and I will go ahead and let you know because you'll start. But my 13 is Josh Alexander. So let me just fix that now. I didn't realize I did that. What happens is
I see what you did.
You start moving them around because you're thinking about you think of someone else and you're like, oh, I got to put them there.
Yeah.
And I messed up. So Tanahashi was 15, and then number 14 for me was Jon Moxley.
Okay, and then you said 13 was
13 is Josh Alexander for me.
Okay, so let's go. I'll do 13. Well, why don't you go ahead and give us your 12 and 11 as well, and then I'll give 13 through 11.
Okay, so 13 was Josh Alexander. Number 12 for me is actually Drew McIntyre. Entertaining all year long, but storylines were a little iffy throughout the year. And then right outside of my top 10, I put number 11 as Big E. Money in the Bank, title win, but been off TV a while, injury, all that good stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. So, yeah, my number 13 was Drew McIntyre. Number 12, Zack Sabre Jr.
Okay.
And then as much as it pained me to put him here, given the situation and circumstances, number 11 went to CM Punk.
Okay. Yep. That makes sense to me.
So
that makes sense to me.
All right. So let's go. You can go next. Give your 10 through 6.
Ooh, okay. This is going to shake some people right here.
Uh-oh.
Number 10
is comments ready.
Number 10 is Matt Cardona. I think he deserves to be number 10. He was the most relevant thing in 4 different promotions when he got released from WWE. Won titles, got his own pay-per-view named after him. I mean,
that he didn't wrestle because he was injured.
I know. Went to NWA, did that thing with Nick Aldis. Like, he made the indies feel exciting. So I had to put him at number 10.
I mean, and you can't deny it. Well, I don't know if it was within this calendar year of the mid 2021 to mid 2022, but you can't deny the match and the beating he took with Nick Gage. But that might have been outside that.
Right.
Either way, continue.
So he was number 10. Number 9, Seth Rollins, the most losingest wrestler to be that over, maybe ever. I had to put him number 9. Number 8, Bryan Danielson. Great matches throughout the year, just nothing storyline, just nothing huge.
Yeah.
So I had to put him on the outside of the top 5. Number 7, I actually went with CM Punk. He could have been higher on my list if I didn't feel like all the things he did outside of the ring ruined wrestling.
He could have been higher if he wasn't a jerk.
For me, if you're gonna look just at stats, I might have been able to put him into my top 5. But I feel like what he did actually damaged a lot of things. I mean, I know this is outside of that period, but there was obviously things happening in the background that led up to this. And so I outside of the F storyline and him winning a belt twice that he couldn't even stay healthy to defend, all his other matches were kind of boring. So he was my number 7. And then number 6 is Okada.
That's fair. Okay. So my number 10 went to Josh Alexander.
Okay. Fair.
Number 9 went to MJF.
Yeah.
8 went to Adam Page. 7, Seth Rollins. 6, Bryan Danielson.
Okay.
I will say this. I should have said this earlier. Spoiler: Big E did not make my top 20. He was the one where I was going back and forth between number 20 being Moxley or Big E, and I had to give it to Moxley just because he's been around the whole year. So,
and spoiler for you, Adam Cole didn't make mine.
That's fair.
And I'm a huge Adam Cole fan, but
yeah, I mean he was number 16 on mine, but I mean I can see why he wouldn't be. That's yeah. So
all right, here's what I'm gonna do. I just want to check with you. I'm assuming we both have the same number 1, so that's not going to be very shocking.
Yeah,
I think we both agreed that Roman Reigns is the number 1.
Yeah.
So let's go back and forth here on these last 4, 5 through 2.
Okay.
And I'll give you my 5. You give me your 5. So my 5th was Adam Hangman Page.
Okay. Number 5 for me went to Cody Rhodes.
Okay. My number 4 was Bobby Lashley.
As was mine.
I think he had a pretty solid year. Here's where mine changes up, and we were both shocked that this person wasn't even on their list, and I had to put him in. Brock Lesnar is my number 3. Has to be.
I thought about it, and if we were being, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say consistent. If we were being, I guess, true to how PWI does their ratings, I didn't include him just because of the part-time aspect of things. I can see why you put him in there.
So this is where I would make the argument for me. During that period, he wasn't part-time. He was consistently on TV for a lot of that time span, a lot of it. And he might have taken little breaks here and there. But if you're going to make that,
remind myself.
If you're going to make that argument, then Roman Reigns doesn't make the list. Just from the standpoint of he's worked a pretty part-time schedule too.
Okay.
CM Punk has worked a pretty part-time schedule. I had to put him in number 3 because it was one of the most entertaining thing in wrestling, especially in WWE at that time.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
I went with number 3, Brock Lesnar.
My 3 went to Okada.
Okay. And then my number 2, I went with Cody Rhodes. I thought that
Go ahead.
The overall just story with him, both AEW and WWE, like he's always been relevant, and he's not had to win a title to do that.
Okay.
Cody.
So
Cody's number 2.
Okay, so my number 2 went to Will Ospreay, but he didn't even make your top 20.
And here's my thing about this, and this is not a knock. It's just how I am. If I don't hear about you through the grapevine, when it comes to New Japan specifically, because I don't watch the product, if I didn't hear about a match or I didn't hear about you enough, I'm going to assume that you're not doing a whole lot.
Then.
So that's just how I am. For me, a lot of AEW and WWE are going to soak up majority of that top 20 because of the reach that they have as a TV program, as a company. And they just, again, I feel like some of the impact. I mean, if you notice, no one from NWA made my list. No one from MLW made my list. No one from GCW made my list. I think maybe 2 to 3 Impact guys made my list. It was mainly AEW, WWE /NXT, but even NXT, only Braun Breaker made my list. You could make arguments for other guys like a Carmelo Hayes, who also was North American champion for most of the year. So just for me, like I heard about Tanahashi throughout the year. I heard about Okada throughout the year. Will Ospreay, I just didn't really hear a whole lot about. Zack Sabre Jr., I didn't hear a whole lot about throughout the year. I know they're good.
I'm surprised about Ospreay, though, because I just checked while you were talking, and I was trying to listen and research this at the same time. And granted, take with a grain of salt. These are Meltzer's ratings, so it's all about subjectivity. But
right,
at least according to Meltzer's ratings, Ospreay had 7 5-star or higher matches during that time period.
For sure. And I'm sure he did. But for me, I can't rate him for
That's
something
fair. I mean, that's fair.
I didn't see. So
I'm just surprised you didn't hear more about him. I mean,
because Shingo Takagi didn't make my list either. If you noted, like,
yeah, I mean, I get that part of it.
That made the actual PWI. I just couldn't put him on my list because I didn't see it. So
I see. I got you. All right, it is time for some fan mail.
They got the answers. I changed the questions.
So this is the part in the show where we take your guys' questions, whether they were submitted ahead of time, which you can do so on our Discord page, or you can submit them ahead of time in this chat thread. So let's go to one that was submitted beforehand. This is from our good pal David Tilley / Cole Appreciation Society. He has multiple aliases. We touched on it earlier, at least I did. Well, I'll just read the question and then I'll get to it. What do you guys think of AEW giving time to Forbidden Door type wrestlers like Bandito and Juice Robinson when some of their guys are never even on TV? I mean, I kind of made my thoughts about it clear earlier. I think if it's every once in a while, I don't have a problem with it, but it just seems like you've got, at least in AEW's case, you've got a lot of talented guys that you could put in prominent storylines and still give you those quality matches. I mean, Kip Sabian's one that comes to mind. I don't know that if you put it, okay, case in point, you put him in a match with Will Ospreay, that's going to be a banger of a match. I think he just hasn't been given a chance because he's a smaller guy. But, I mean, I don't get the difference necessarily between him and Sammy Guevara. I mean, maybe he just needs more work on the mic. In Sabian's case, I don't know, but I don't agree with it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. At least I don't agree with it as much as they've done it.
Mine might be a little bit of a hot take here.
Hot take time.
But I think I think the Forbidden Door aspect for me is boring now. It's over. They've overdone it. They've overplayed it. They've done way too many debuts for the pop, and now even the ones that really should get a pop, in my opinion, it's just kind of, oh, who's next? Like it feels like a long window from a week to AEW where I'm just counting to 10, waiting to see who comes through the curtain. And eventually, we've been to a Royal Rumble. People start to get tired of it when they get to like 15 and 16 and 17 because they're underwhelming entries. They're not very exciting. There's no pop. There's no nothing. And then when you think you're about to get that big pop, like for instance, we went to the St. Louis one. We knew it was going to be Brock Lesnar when he came out. We knew it. We knew who number 30 was going to be. So we were extremely underwhelmed when it happened. And that's how I kind of feel with this whole Forbidden Door thing. Juice Robinson is not exciting to me at all. Like,
I agree. I agree. And I want to say something real quick on that. I saw someone post on Twitter that something along the lines of, like, Bullet Club has long since went past its expiration. It's pretty much become NWO 2000. Couldn't agree more. I mean, it's stale. Just do away with it.
What made Bullet Club special? It was really the people that were involved in it. And once you lose a lot of the key guys that made it what it was, it would be Disputed Era, losing Adam Cole and trying to replace him with name your person. And trying to, then after he left, you replace Bobby Fish, and next thing you know, the Undisputed Era is 4 new guys that weren't even original members. It loses its flair, if you will. And so I'm kind of done with the Forbidden Door stuff. And the problem that you have in AEW is a lot of your big names and talents want part-time schedules. A lot of them want flexibility in how they get to wrestle and the storylines. You know, I read the rumor that if FTR went back to WWE, they want the Roman Reigns schedule.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, The problem with that is that, and this is, we would agree, this is the problem in WWE too, when they were doing Brock Lesnar as champion and he was working a part-time schedule. You could make the argument
real quick.
even now.
Sorry, real quick. Keep talking. I got to step away for just a second. I'll be right back.
You're good. I think you could even say that you could see this being a problem with Roman Reigns being champion long-term because he's working a part-time schedule and all of that. So I think the problem that they run into in AEW is that they have a lot of these big name talents that want to work part-time, and they want the big payday, but they don't want the load of the big payday. And I think if AEW was smart, they would start to invest in the guys that are there on the weekly basis, the guys that put in the work, the guys that are day in and day out grinding. That's the people that are putting on the best matches. That's the people that are getting the crowd reactions. I mean, let's just be real. The acclaimed, regardless of how you feel about their gimmick and all this stuff, they got over. They didn't get over working a part-time schedule. They didn't get over trying to wrestle a match here and there. They got over because they consistently went on, and I'll give it to them. They used all their platforms. They used Elevation. They used Dark. They used Rampage. They used Dynamite, and they got themselves over by being consistent and being there on a week in, week out, putting in the work. And I think that if you put more effort into the guys that actually want to be there on a week to week, that they're in the shape and the ability to be there on a week to week, you'll see the AEW program go up a ton. You named guys: Kip Sabian, Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy, Jack Perry. You look at Best Friends and the group that's there. Like I said, the Acclaimed and what they're doing. You got to invest in the guys that are going to be on a weekly basis. So I think that the main problem really is the amount of names that they sign to big contracts that want the part-time schedule, and then they're running out of ideas to get the pop now. And this is what happens when you go for the pop and you don't go for the longevity of it. Is when you go for the pop, you got to have something for them to pop at next week.
Yep.
Because if you don't, I was always told this about youth ministry. Anytime that you schedule a youth event, if you get them to come for the bounce house, the concert, the big thing that you booked, that means next Wednesday, when it's your regular service, when it's your regular scheduled programming, if you will, you got to have something that's going to top that. And if you don't, people aren't going to come back.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's just like our show. I mean, we advertise, how you guys can win a belt from us, and then we want to keep you guys coming back, but we can't give away a belt every single week. And so,
right,
it's another example of how do you and I get people to come back when we're not giving something away. So,
right, and that's the mindset in AEW is now you've done all the big pops, right? Like outside of the biggest names that you could name, there's not many more pops that you could do.
Right.
The craze is kind of over. So now what do we do? Oh, let's pop for Juice Robinson. Let's pop for a female wrestler who hasn't wrestled in a decade and may not even physically be able to wrestle.
Yeah.
Which,
by the way, maybe a hot take. I give zero crap about Saraya being in AEW.
Right.
I don't care at all.
And like I said, outside of the bit, like there's the big names, right? The pop stuff is over. It's and I think that they're still trying to live off that, and and that hurts the programming. So again, in my opinion, they should focus on the guys that are there on a weekly, that are getting themselves over, that they're utilizing all the platforms that they have to get over. I think the Acclaimed is a perfect example of that. So just my
let's do a couple more questions, and it's getting close to having to call tonight, and we have to reveal something to you guys. So Derek Adams asks, where do you guys think the storyline will go with Dexter and The Miz? I'll let you tackle this one because I honestly don't know.
Where do I think it's going?
I mean, they're going to have a match, but
they'll probably set something up for Extreme Rules and call it a day. The Miz is that perfect guy to be the introductory feud for a lot of these new guys. He really is. He's kind of the, if you want to say Roman's the table, the Miz is really great because promo wise, even if you're not good, or if you have a guy like Dexter Lumis who can't, his character doesn't talk, you have the Miz who does enough talking for two people. So I think that it's a quick feud to get Dexter integrated into the roster. I don't know where you go with Dexter from here after that, but I'm intrigued. I hope they utilize him. I hope that they find things to do with him. Dexter Lumis right now, it kind of reminds me of the Boogeyman. Like he's got a creepy demeanor. The gimmick's not the problem really, but where can you really go with him? Like, I don't know if I he kind of like a Bray Wyatt to me. I don't really got to put a belt on this guy. He's not screaming world champion or United States or IC champion to me. It's more the storylines. So the Miz is very entertaining, and I think that it made sense to put him up against him. Maybe the Alpha Academy next because Chad Gable can really sell that. But I really don't know. I that's one of those storylines that I kind of feel like they booked it because it would be good for the now, and maybe we'll figure it out later or as we go.
Yeah. Let's see. Hang on just 1 second. There's another question I'm trying to find where it went to.
While you're doing a side note, I forgot to mention this earlier. I do want to mention
that's not it.
that I love that for Extreme Rules, WWE is really pulling out the red carpet. This is going
to be a great card.
I mean, you got the fight pit. You have a last man standing match. You have an Extreme Rules match. I think there's going to be a ladder match, if I'm not mistaken.
You'll have to.
Trying to remember whose match that was going to be. Regardless, they're really putting an emphasis on Extreme Rules with a lot of gimmick matches, and I think that that's something we've been missing at Extreme Rules for the past, a handful of years, and so I did want to acknowledge that. Not to mention, right after that at Survivor Series, they're going to do the War Game matches. So,
yeah.
Oh, women's title ladder match. Thank you, Brian.
Okay.
Yeah. So several gimmick matches, which means that it's going to be good. No, Cole is not wearing a Bengals jersey. I'm wearing this John.
And his name is John Cena.
It was overdue.
We have that sound clip.
Overdue. I've not played that in months.
So, fun fact: my wife is a Bengals fan, and she is in the other room watching the game and screaming at the top of her lungs. But no, this is my John Cena Hustle, Loyalty, Respect jersey that was so graciously sent in from one of our viewers here on the show, and I'm incredibly thankful for it. So I thought I'd rock it tonight.
I found the question earlier. And I got to get back to it, and this will be the last one we take tonight. If you forget booking and who WWE and AEW push, who do you think was the most entertaining this year? Who had the best matches, not based on wins or losses? Seth Rollins comes to mind immediately.
Yeah. So, I mean, Seth Rollins would definitely be up there. Someone who didn't make our list and I think was extremely entertaining this past year was Matt Riddle.
Yeah.
Good matches, entertaining on the mic. So you could kind of throw him up there. MJF, obviously. I don't know if I could say the best matches, but obviously entertaining overall. He's up there. But I mean, I think the reason why I'm going to say the Bloodline, though, I'm going to be honest with you. The bloodline has been the most entertaining as an overall stable, as an overall presence, has been the most entertaining thing on TV in the past year. The way they've built storylines, the way they've built the stable, the faction, the Brock Lesnar stuff, the Sami Zayn stuff. Guys, Sami Zayn, actually. Let me just highlight him on his own for a second. Sami Zayn, I'm telling you right now, this is a bold thought, hot take, prediction, if you will. Sami Zayn should be the one to dethrone the tribal chief.
Oh, that's a hot take.
And I'm just saying from the standpoint of storyline, how he's been integrated into the group, and he's actually taking one for the team and doing all this stuff, and I just see them turning on him at some point, and then he's going to get the ultimate revenge. And he doesn't need to win both titles, but what if he was the one to get the title, one of the, in a very sneaky, sly, from within the group type of way? Sami Zayn is one of the most entertaining, and has been one of the most entertaining guys on TV in the past year, though, with this honorary Uce stuff, and all I gotta give props.
No arguments from me, none whatsoever. So it's time to give you guys some Lord Alfred Hayes.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
So guys, just a few things I want to remind you guys. You can check out the Going Broadway podcast. We are live beginning next week, every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. So literally 4 days from now, we'll be back with you again. I get that that's when Raw is on, but have Raw on your TV, have us on your phone, your laptop, your computer, your tablet.
And it'd only be like the first 30 minutes, which is like a Bianca Belair, segment. So
it's the part that you guys don't like anyway. Apparently.
Yeah, you'll miss the opening promo and the first 5 minutes of the match that goes 25 minutes long.
Yeah, Monday Night Football. Who cares about the Monday Night Football? Just kidding. But no, our social media platforms are scrolling across the bottom of your screen individually. And you know what? I'm going to change it up because that Twitter one had been scrolling across for a while. But we're on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. So make sure you like, follow, subscribe, share, when you can, as much as you can. Because you never know when we're going to do a giveaway that's related to any of those. You never know when we're going to do a giveaway that's related to, sharing our video links and our interviews and things like that. So, but yeah, if you're not following, or if you haven't liked us or subscribed yet, just make sure you do all 5. So again, it's Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. We would sincerely appreciate it. We are also the proud and honored sponsors of Warrior Wrestling 25, which is actually this Sunday night. If you're in the Chicago, Illinois area, you can check it out live. If not, please visit Warrior Wrestling's Twitter page for information regarding how you can watch it. But there are a number of matches on the card that are going to be, in my opinion, pretty good matches. You've got the Warrior Wrestling Championship match between Casey Navarro and Trey Miguel. You've got the Lucha Bros against Brian Cage and Gringo. You've got Briscoes against the Rascals, and you've also got Eddie Kingston against Calvin Tankman of MLW. One thing that Cole has said a few times, I'm trying to get this off the screen. Why is it not? There we go. We are completely crowdfunded at this point. We're no longer backed by a company, haven't been for about a month now, a month and a half. And so any contributions you guys make, whether it's our belt raffles, whether it is our Patreon page, which you can check that out, patreon.com/GoingBroadwayPodcast. There's 4 different tiers you can choose from. All of them have their own perks and benefits, so I'll leave that to you guys to check it out. But The two upper tiers actually allow you guys, if you would become one of our gold or platinum tier patrons, to join us on a podcast at least once a year. If you're a gold member, twice a year if you're a platinum member. But any contribution you guys make goes straight into the podcast, does not go into our pocket. It helps to just make the podcast better. Helps us to purchase equipment if needed, when needed. But one of the things I wanted to share real quick is our Pro Wrestling Tees store. You can check it out at prowrestlingtees.com/GoingBroadwayPodcast. And it's important that you remember that. Again, prowrestlingtees.com/GoingBroadwayPodcast, because for the next 3 months, and this is the news you guys have been waiting for. So from October 1st to December 31st, for anyone that buys a t-shirt off our Pro Wrestling Tees store, it can be during a sale. It can be just, anytime you want between October 1st and December 31st. For each t-shirt that you purchase, you will get one free entry. I guess it's not free, but you get what I'm saying. You will get one entry into a giveaway to win a belt from us. Gosh, you scared the crap out of me. Holy crap.
I've been waiting to play that.
That background music, wow, that's so loud.
That's my new favorite soundbite. I just want you to know that. We
need to alter the volume on that, because that was super loud in my ears. Wow. Oh man,
guys, you don't know how hard I had to look to find the Bray Wyatt Fiend Firefly.
No, that's the appropriate spot to use it. But wow, I cannot believe how loud that was, and it wasn't even loud on our StreamYard settings. I think it's just the soundbite itself. But for every t-shirt that you buy off Pro Wrestling Tees, again between October 1st and December 31st, you will get one entry to win a belt from us. Now, you can buy one shirt, two shirts, 5 shirts, 10 shirts, however many shirts you want. But each shirt gets you one entry. And disclaimer, guys, I don't know how many shirts we're going to sell during that time. We could sell 50. We could sell 5. I don't know. There's no way to gauge it. So that being said, if you want to win a belt from us, buy some shirts. Again, prowrestlingtees.com/GoingBroadwayPodcast. And if you want to wait until they have their holiday sales, do it. If you want to save 20%, I don't know enough to know for sure when they do their sales, but I'm sure they're going to have one between October 1st and December 31st. I mean, they have holiday sales, I'm sure. But again, it's for every t-shirt that you purchase. It's not just if you buy a bunch, you get one entry. You buy 5 shirts, you get 5 entries. You buy 20 shirts, you get 20 entries. That's the way it is. And I'm actually sporting one of them today. This is one of our more recent designs. This is our sort of New Japan tribute shirt. We couldn't get the lion because Pro Wrestling Tees wouldn't allow it. And so after a lot of back and forth, finally went with the bear. Looks kind of similar enough to where you kind of get the idea. But anyway, we've got our old school Ring of Honor shirt logo that is actually behind Cole right now, his little green screen. We've got the NWO shirts. We've got our WCW early 90s tribute shirt. What am I missing? What else we got up there?
I can't. Is the Great American Bash one?
Yeah, our Great American Bash tribute shirt is up. I'm just looking right now because I'm curious. Now, guys, do not go buy any shirts tonight or even tomorrow. This starts October 1st. It goes from October 1st to December 31st.
You can, but they won't count.
Yeah, you could.
You can't go buy it.
Oh, I forgot. I think I forgot my favorite one, the Saturday Night's Main Event tribute shirt.
Yeah.
I mean, that one's got to be my favorite. We've got our old school GBP shirts. Just our original logo. I think we mentioned all of them that are on the store, but you can get a bunch of different color combinations. Alex Colbebe is not on the store. They wouldn't allow it because
it's a very sad day.
It's too close to WWE's design that they don't use anymore, but it is what it is.
It's retired. If you didn't get it, you missed it.
And if you do have it, you might save it. It's valuable.
It's a rarity. It'll be worth probably less than what you paid for it one day.
Something. But again, I'll repeat that real quick. Between October 1st and December 31st, for every shirt that you buy, whether it's 1, 5, 20, 50, whatever, for every shirt that you buy off our Pro Wrestling Tees store between October 1st and December 31st, you get one entry into a drawing to win a belt from us. And we'll just do the drawing the first podcast back in 2023, whatever date that might be. What about sweaters? We don't have sweaters. We only have the t-shirts. We don't. Yeah, our Pro Wrestling Tees store does not have hoodies, so that's another rarity. If you're able to get a hoodie from us when we're offering them, that's also a rarity, because as of right now, we don't offer hoodies. And I don't know how that works with Pro Wrestling Tees. I don't know if you have to have it. If you have to have a certain amount of sales to offer hoodies, I'm not really sure. But I'll repeat it one more time. Between October 1st and December 31st, for every shirt that you buy from our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/GoingBroadway Podcast, for every shirt that you buy between October 1st and December 31st, you will get one entry to win a belt from us. You can buy 1 shirt, 5 shirts, 20 shirts, however many you want. But for every shirt that you buy between October 1st and December 31st, you will get one entry to win a belt from us. So I think I said everything. Is there anything you wanted to add?
You nailed it.
I do love that soundbite.
It's so great. It's the best.
I would love to offer hats at some point, but again, I think that might fall under the whole, like, before you can offer anything besides t-shirts, you have to have a certain amount of sales on Pro Wrestling Tees. I'm not sure how that works, but that's the other thing I was going to say. We're not actually going to announce this on our social media platforms. If someone asks, hey, what are the details on your belt giveaway? I'm just going to say, you got to go watch our podcast. So this is not going to be posted on our socials. This is not going to be posted on our Discord or anything like that. If somebody asks, I'm just going to say, you got to watch our podcast from September 29th. And that's it. So
I will say this, just because our shirts are on our Going Broadway podcast shirts are on Pro Wrestling Tees, doesn't mean we might not do like a pre-ordered batch of hats at some point or whatever.
Yeah.
That we do on our own. So it's not out of the question, but they would have to be pre-ordered because we'd have to make sure that they are all accounted for.
Yeah.
Because we're not holding our own inventory. All right. We don't have a warehouse for all this merch that we'd have to hold. So, but yeah. And I don't know if he mentioned it or not earlier, but also we're trying to get those Instagram likes up. So once we hit 500 Instagram likes, we're doing a giveaway as well. Notice I didn't say belt giveaway because who knows what we'll give away. We might give away 9 belts. I'm not saying we're going to. I'm just saying that you never know. We've given away 3 before.
We've given away 3.
So we could give away 9. I'm just spitballing. And notice I didn't say championship belts. So they could just be 9 really nice leather belts.
We're just gonna go to Walmart and buy.
Just you got to pay attention to wording here, folks. But yeah, wanted to throw that out there as well.
No, but I will say for this giveaway, it is a actual championship belt. It's not something to hold your pants up. So if that makes you guys feel
anything,
better,
it's gonna bring them down because it's heavy, because it's real.
Unfortunately, it's about that time. Cole, any final thoughts?
Guys, as always, thank you for watching the greatest wrestling podcast ever. We sincerely appreciate it. Again, don't forget to do all of those things Alex just mentioned to you as far as becoming a Patreon, social media, following, liking us on all those pages. You can also subscribe to us on Twitch, which is a huge help. And you never know when we're going to do our next watch party. So you're going to want to make sure you're on Twitch because that is our only platform that we do those on.
And you're not going to want those ads to play if you're joining us for a watch party. Just saying.
We already have a hard enough time trying to hold the results back so y'all can get caught up with it. So,
and that we're also trying to be better about.
So you don't want the ads on top of it because then you're really going to miss out. So make sure you're just doing all those things. It's a huge help. It allows us to continue to do what we love to do, which is this and hanging out with you guys. Again, don't forget, Monday is our next show, and it's going to be our regular night going forward. So make sure you join us for that. But other than that, I think I got to leave you guys with your favorite thing in the entire world.
Thanks, guys, and we'll see you on Monday.